And by the way, again, I go back to what I said earlier. You're not a violent criminal. Dr. Simone Gold is not a violent criminal. If you want to pardon people that were not violent criminals, I think that's a very important to substantiate that. But J.D. Vance is the guy that said we shouldn't be pardoning. Obviously, he said we shouldn't be pardoning violent criminals. Tons of Republicans in the last 3 weeks have said the exact same thing.
So again, most of the January 6th protesters are not violent criminals.
600 of them.
Even those who got caught up in violent scuffles with police officers.
Yep.
Self-defense is not violence. We need to be honest about that.
So you think the people that took police officers' batons and beat them with batons were acting in self-defense?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. In the vast majority of cases in January 6th, that is what happened.
So when the police officers are telling you to get back, you know you're not supposed to be in that area. They're giving you lawful commands.
You don't know you're not supposed to be in that area. You got to be really careful with when you insert false statements.
When law enforcement are pushing you back, when law enforcement, listen, when law enforcement are telling you to get back.
We've seen the video footage of law enforcement themselves pulling gates and barricades.
And the reason, and they've also under
protesters in.
And they also, do you know why? Because under oath, they explained why they did that. There were several officers.
It's
not irrelevant. No, it's not irrelevant. And no, it's not. No, it's not. I'll tell you why. They said, okay, so let me ask you a question.
The clear reality is that when you have a crowd in such a circumstance, and then you have ill-prepared government operations or mal-prepared, which it seems there's indication of that as well. But regardless, they did not properly prepare. They confused the crowd.
I don't disagree.
The unarmed crowd.
John, I don't disagree with what you just said. Clearly, they were not prepared. But that's not the argument I'm trying to make here. The argument I'm trying to make here is why did several of these officers open some gates? You had 1 or 2 armed officers with 100 or 200 people. So they have 2 options in that situation. Either they take out their gun and start shooting a bunch of people, which I don't think you wanted to happen, or they opened the gate because they were in fear of their lives and they didn't want to kill people. It is extremely relevant. And for you to say it's not relevant and they just went and woke up and got to work that day because they just wanted 200 people to storm the Capitol is insane. No, they were under testimony. And they said
what I said. What I said is it's irrelevant if you thought you had a justification for moving a barrier or reacting to a protester in a single isolated incident. It's irrelevant to the reality that the crowd was confused, misinformed, and misdirected by the government presence that was there.
They were confused and misdirected. So you think most of those people that went into the Capitol, destruction of property, defecating on Nancy Pelosi's desk, you think a legitimate excuse? A legitimate excuse is the guy who defecated on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Give him a break. Because John says he was just confused and misdirected. Is that a legitimate excuse?
The defecation slur is fake news. That's not true.
The guy went to jail for those charges and also destruction of property.
So a lot of people went to jail, Brian, myself included. That doesn't mean that the things that people are spewing in the media are true.
Was there destruction of property that day? Did people steal things and break windows and break things, or was that?
There were some windows broken. Yes.
Yeah. So destruction of property, would the excuse be they were just confused and misdirected?
No, actually, there's a lot of very convincing evidence that the majority of destruction that occurred was perpetrated by masked individuals and unidentified perpetrators who have not yet been identified or charged.
But there were people that were identified on video and they spent time behind bars. So I'm asking you, those specific people, were they just misdirected and confused? And as an attorney, would that be a legitimate excuse?
Again, if you want to talk specifics, we have to say who and what and exactly we're specifying as far as
the people on video that showed their faces that went to jail for destruction of property, for breaking windows.
They went to jail. They went to jail, Brian. Let's be really honest about this. They went to jail as the fallout, what's the word I'm looking for? The casualties, the collateral damage. That's the phrase I was spacing. They went to jail as the collateral damage for a weaponized government operation to silence political opposition. That's why they went to jail. Okay.
So nobody went to jail for assaulting police officers or destruction of property. Nobody went
allegedly, but again, the vast majority of that is dishonestly represented and was not adjudicated in a constitutional manner. So if you want to go unwind the history and look at every single act that happened, you can find examples where perhaps someone did something that they regret or that was not a wise decision in the moment. But is that really what we want to spend our time doing? Like, that is not the main point of what happened here.
Well,
you should be so absolutely shocked and offended and infuriated that your government betrayed its own citizens, regardless of who swung a baton at who, when it is so clear that the government allowed, facilitated, and it seems provoked a violent incident that never should have happened. Have you watched all the documented footage of armed police violating established use of force protocols, very specific rules that govern when and how they use violent force, which they violated? They did not use it appropriately or according to protocol. They provoked an unarmed crowd that was not actively causing violence.
That has never been proven in a court of law. That's an accusation that's never been proven that somehow. So it sounds to me like you're blaming the government.
Brian, are